Okay.
Got it. All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's good to see everyone, and I appreciate you joining. As you just heard, right, this meeting is being recorded, so I want to make sure everybody gets their proper warning that the meeting's going to be recorded. Anything you say will be taken down, and ultimately we will post this on our planning board website. So, as I say, be careful what you say. It's all going to be recorded. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start with a roll call to ensure that we have a quorum. So I will start with Margaret.
Present.
Corla.
I'm here.
Mandy.
Present.
Don.
Aye.
Robert Tripp Jackson, I do not see yet. Angela said she was not going to be here. Nicole.
Present.
Tina.
Present. Here.
Yep, I see you. Matt, I don't see. Joe.
I'm here.
Sam said he's going to be gone. And I don't see Paul. Javier.
Here?
And Brad.
Yes.
I see your hand. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we have 10, so we do have a quorum. So we're going to go ahead and start. So the first item is approval of the agenda. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda unless there's any additions or comments?
Margaret makes a motion
Do we have
to
a
approve the
second?
agenda.
Well, Fred, I did need to remove the action item at the end of the meeting from traffic and transportation. We didn't meet quorum with regards to the Rosecrans action item, so that can be removed from the item as action and changed to informational if necessary.
Yeah, that's what I guess we talked about that a little. My plan on that is that we'll table it as far as a board action item when we get there, but I'll ask you if you want to get any input on Rosecrans from the group when we get there.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Okay. Any other comments on the agenda? Okay, so I think a motion by Margaret, second by Mandy, all in favor? All right, agenda's approved. Second thing, approval of meeting by Zoom. I still think there's COVID out there. There's not facilities for us to meet. And so do I have a motion for us to continue to meet by Zoom given the exigent circumstances out in society?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
To
motion
keep
by Mandy,
meetings on via Zoom.
second by Tina. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, there we go. All right, that passes unanimously. 9-0. All right. Approval of the minutes. Mandy sent around the minutes this afternoon. If people have had a chance to see them, do you want to make a motion to approve those, Mandy?
I would like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 2023.
Okay. Do we have a second for that? Got a second
Second.
from Margaret. Margaret, do we have any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the January meeting, raise your hand.
Fred, show me as recusing myself. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, I'm going to
Okay.
show you as an abstaining, but it's going to be nine in
Abstaining.
favor and 1 abstention. Matt, I'm going to count. I see that you're here now, so I'm going to.
Matt arrived.
Matt arrived, so that gives us 11. All right,
And
so that
then
passes 9-0 and 1
One
abstention.
abstain.
What was that? Did somebody else want to abstain?
I do. I haven't had a chance to read them.
Okay, all right, well then it passes 8-0 with 2 abstentions. All right, with that then, we are going to go to the board officer report. So really, I think that we're continuing to do well. The committees are meeting. We're going to have some challenges in the second half of the year as far as the city and changes to planning groups, but and it's going to be interesting to see how things develop. Maybe Joe can talk about this when he gets to our projects, but I think we're going to have less projects to review than we've had in the past, given some of the changes with the city. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic, but there's plenty of other projects for us to and topics for us to get involved in. So I think really the biggest thing coming up is we've got the election in March. We're going to have Margaret talk about that later, but I think that the election committee, they met and they sent a significant amount of emails around, and they worked hard on it diligently, and they've got a great plan, and the election's moving forward. So I think that that's all fantastic. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Margaret if she wants to sit any reports as the first vice chair.
No, yeah, it's, again, we continue to do an amazing job for the community. It's important to, in the recruitment process of new candidates, really get them, involved in just, not taking a seat on the board, to really want to be involved in all the subcommittees. I think that's where we struggle a lot, is when, candidates hop onto, and I'll go into it further under my elections report, but when we're recruiting friends and family and colleagues and community members in general, it's really important to explain, how important it is to get involved in the subcommittees, because that's, I think, where we struggle with participation, and that's where we do the bulk of, the work, to come back to this executive board and make some final decisions. So I see this team, I've really enjoyed myself this year. It's been real positive. I really thank each and every one of you for your support and working as a team. We've done so much, in such little time within a year, that I really look forward to, being on another year and taking this board to the next level as much as we can. So again, just a quick thank you to everyone. It's been an awesome year, and I see us doing more and more and more for the future of Point Loma. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Margaret. Corla, do you have any treasurer report?
I do. Our balance is the same, no activity. And we have $1,192.81. And everything usually gets paid in June. So we're in good shape so far.
Perfect. Mandy, any secretary report?
None at this point. No, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I skipped a couple of things on mine. So I have to go back and report on a couple of things. So first, I'd like to talk about in-person meetings. So that's an issue that's going to come up, and I want to make sure everybody's aware of that, right? I went to the ANAC meeting yesterday on behalf, because Paul was out of town, but they're going to start meeting in person. We haven't gotten any update from the city that changes anything, which means by the end of February, I believe that things are going to change, right? And things are going to expire, and there's going to be pressure for us to start to meet in person. So I'd like to meet at Zoom as long as we can, but that may not be possible after the end of February. I reached out to the library, and I've talked to the head of the library, Christine, there. And of course, as a city would only do, right, they want us to meet in person, but when I talked to Christine, she says they don't have authority to open up the library after hours. So she's got to talk to her supervisor. So I'm working with her, trying to be a little bit ahead of the curve to see whether or not we can get the community room there if we have to meet in person. I know that Corla is going to be going to the CPC meeting, so there may be some update there. And so we're just all going to have to work together on that. And depending on what happens in March, I guess this is my thought as a chair, is that if we don't have a big agenda and they're trying to force us to meet in person in March, and we don't have a meeting space, then I may cancel the March meeting and just have the next meeting be in April. So I don't know if anybody has any comments about what's going to happen as far as in-person meetings. that approach seem okay? Go ahead, Corla.
Well, I see Marlon Pangolin is on our call today, and by the way, we apparently do have a new rep, and I'll
yeah.
address that if he would. But let's hear what Marlon had to say. He had a lot of things to say at CPC last month, and CPC doesn't meet until next week for us, so we're sort of a month behind on all that. So Marlon, would you take over? We can't hear you.
And now we can't see you. There you go. We can see you now. You look good. I like your background. No, so you can't hear you.
No. He's having audio trouble. Is your computer volume turned up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my only suggestion.
And is your microphone turned on?
If you go down to where the mute button is, there's an up arrow at the bottom left-hand corner. If you select that and open up the settings window, you can find the volume settings as well. You may need to increase your volume through that setting window.
Fred, while Marlon's working on his computer, can I ask about the potential of doing hybrid meetings? I know most councils, like the city council, or committees are hybrid. Any potential of doing a hybrid type meeting?
Well, I think there's a potential of doing a hybrid meeting, but the problem is, you know, and that's why I'd like to hear from Marlon, right? There's a split of opinion as to where and what notice you have to give. And there's a split of opinion in that if we did a hybrid meeting and you're at home, do we have to give the public notice of your location? And I don't think anybody wants me to be giving your home addresses out to the public every time we have a meeting. And so certainly we could do a hybrid meeting where we're in a room, and if public wanted to access that way too, we could do that. If we have the technology, somebody could do that. But I think it's, you know, I don't really want to risk anybody's personal privacy protections by having you at home and having to give out your private information. So I don't know.
Marlon went out and came back in. Let's see if we can hear him.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I just had to log back in. I think there was I had to switch cameras, and I think it kind of messed up the audio or something like that. But hi everybody, thanks for having me. Marlon Pangolin, interim program coordinator with the planning department, and kind of your current stand-in as community planner for Peninsula until Jeff Ryan comes back from paternity leave. And I think it's probably in a month or two or so, something like that. But in the meantime, I'm here to help you guys. So there was a question about in-person meetings, and I made mention of it at the last CPC meeting and discussed it. There's something coming out from our management in terms of written guidance on there, but pretty much covered a lot of the things that I mentioned, and that had to deal with starting March 1st. Everybody's going to in-person meetings, kind of like what we did back before COVID was around. The current the current Brown Act provisions do allow for virtual meetings. They call them teleconference meetings. However, if any of the board members want to attend the meeting virtually, then that's where you gotta list your, either it's a private address or your business address or anywhere that you guys are attending the meeting virtually, just for the board members, has to be listed on the agenda that goes out 72 hours in advance and has to be accessible to the public, and the public can come over to that location, whether it's your house, office, attend that meeting, address the planning group, and provide real-time comment. So again, the Brown Act was meant for government officials, appointed bodies and commissions. And so it was meant for transparency to make sure, those people are all accountable, especially when they're attending the meeting. Now, a lot of concerns were expressed at CPC. I totally understand that, about the benefits of meeting virtually and how convenient that is, not to mention safety in regards to broadcasting or allowing people's private addresses out there. And not to mention some of the issues with trying to secure a physical location. I know you guys had mentioned something about the library and the hours. And given, the whole state of COVID and just the advent of COVID, a lot of facilities don't extend their hours like they used to back in the day. And so I think some of the things that people talked about were churches, private, community rooms or whatever. And then also even like maybe adjusting their hours a little earlier so that they can meet the, the operating hours of some of the public facilities. So some of those things in terms of issues are coming into us, and we're trying to think about how we can deal with those. Right now, I don't have any options. Some people have talked about, going to their state reps to make changes to the bylaws. However, the council policy or the new council policy is what brings planning groups to bear under the Brown Act. So maybe it's a potential for, maybe amending the council policy just for planning groups to meet virtually, something that we can consider. Yeah, and then that's kind of where we're at with that. Was there a question about hybrid meetings and stuff?
There was a question about hybrid meetings.
Yeah, so and I mentioned so we discussed hybrid meetings as, say, the planning group members meeting in person, with a quorum, say at the library in person, but they're broadcasting their meeting virtually via YouTube, Facebook Live, or what else? Zoom, right? And so the planning groups can do that. And that's mainly for the benefit of the public who wants to attend. So, it's a means of garnering more participation from the community. And if you do that, the members or the members of the public that are observing your meeting have to be able to observe you guys like on Zoom, on YouTube or Facebook Live or whatever, and be able to provide a call-in feature to provide comment or real-time public comment via, Zoom chat or whatever. So they need to have that access. And it's just like, city council and public planning commission, like when people call in and they're calling at home and they're watching it on TV. And then just wanted to add, anytime there is a disruption with the signal or the ability for someone to provide public comment, then the planning group needs to pause. They can't take any action until the public access is restored or the ability for people to provide comment is restored. Then you can continue with the meeting.
Okay.
I think
I think, Marlon, I just want to make sure I understand. So I think what I said earlier, I think you've confirmed it, that if we did a hybrid meeting and some of the board members were at their home, right, I'd have to go to Bevmo and drop wine off there, so in case public showed up and they could have a glass of wine with their local neighbor that came over for the meeting.
So people have mentioned that before. I got BYOB if you're in my location. Yeah.
Yeah. Don, did you have a question?
I do, Marlon. I'm a member in good standing of the board. This is only February.
Don, I've seen your name before, and just so you guys know, I think you guys know that Tony had passed away over the holidays. So there's been a lot of assignment changes, and a lot of your names like Margaret, Fred, you two, Don, familiar names when Tony used to be the planner. So nice to see you guys.
So my question is, I'm in Chico, about 600 miles north. So I'm obviously not in the jurisdiction. And if this were after March 1st, I would be out of the jurisdiction, but remotely. Could I participate or could I not? The council policy, as I understand it, is that a member has to be in the jurisdiction.
I might have to look at that, but there has to be a quorum in the jurisdiction. Now, if you were a board member attending, I think there was made mention, like if you were in a hotel or on vacation or something like that. I don't think you would have, well, I have to go back and look. I think you might have to provide that information for attending, but you're on vacation.
I think
You
you're
might
only
wanna be on
supposed to be able to do 2 remote meetings a year as well. Is that true, Marlon?
Oh, okay, so that gets into a little bit of it gets into Assembly Bill 2449, and that deals with having a hybrid meeting, allowing board members to attend virtually, but not having to provide their personal address or their teleconference location based on only 2 instances, just cause and an emergency. So Corla, you mentioned some of those specific instances, like you were sick, you have like, some contagious disease, you were caring for a loved one who has health needs. Forgot what the other one was, but then the emergencies, those are, the acts of God and whatnot that would prevent you from attending the meeting. And yeah, there's some specific language on that. I could forward it to the group if you guys are interested. One of my other community groups are looking into that because they have a specific situation like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, I
Do you
think
need a
that was all-
motion, Fred?
What was that?
Do you need a motion to continue Zoom?
No, we've already
Okay.
approved tonight, but after March, my understanding is after March 1st, we're not going to be allowed to meet by Zoom
Gotcha.
unless we meet all the Brown Act requirements, and that
Right.
would include, right, people's personal homes if we had a meeting like this. So, and obviously there's a lot of technical things that have to be satisfied, even if we did try to do a hybrid, and if we had a technical problem, then the meeting would halt. And so, it's going to be difficult for us. I think we're going to have to probably go to in person unless we have somebody who's really good. But Nicole, I'm open to ideas.
Well, I'm just going to give a couple comments and thank you, Marlon. You're right. Dawn, go and enjoy. If you're in Chico, yeah. Love that.
Beautiful town.
It is. So it might be my last meeting, and unfortunately it is Zoom. So I will look forward to seeing you in person. I will not probably join a Zoom meeting unless I'm probably on a blank screen, maybe in or out. It's not, this is about community and about projects. We all live within 3 miles of somewhere in the peninsula. That's a 5-mile walk. And I'm willing to walk anybody. It's a really good way to look at our streets, how they're designed for cars, how they're dangerous, and how we make them safer. Wabaska is a perfect example. Let's walk through the neighborhoods. I definitely support you guys all going back in person and finding a great place. And, if you need a place, let me know. But I don't really have anything. But let's get out there. You make community. Like, I will be excited to see Matt on his bike and maybe get a ride home with him. So, that's what it's about. You actually have conversations afterwards and you actually feel what we need to feel about doing these things in our communities and all the support. And so excited. I've been rolling through Dawn's Park. So, let's keep the great work, and I look forward to seeing you all in person.
Well, and I think that's it. I mean, it is what it is. And maybe that's good. Maybe it's good news, right? That COVID's down low enough to where this is ending and we can get back in person, right? And try to take some precautions, be safe. But yeah, seeing everybody in person, there's some significant advantages to that, right? So, all right. So with that, I guess I have one more board officer report that I'd like to make before we move on. And that is, we do have an election coming up, and Dawn has been on the board for a long time. So I really would like to say thank you to Don. He served his 9 years, and it's special to have somebody who's on the board for 9 years, right? That's the institutional knowledge. And Don wasn't just on the board for 9 years. He's been a very active member on our board, an active member in the community, been involved in numerous projects. Not the least of which is the Cannon Street Pocket Park, but then the Voltaire Bridge, which are on our project now, but a lot of other ones, and certainly has been involved in the Formosa Canyon potential housing, all big issues that affected us. So on a personal note, Don, I'm going to say thank you. I've enjoyed working with you. I'm also going to say that, I don't think I'm the only one here, but when I thought about running for the board, I remember having coffee with Dawn and having Dawn tell me about the planning board and encouraging me to run. And so I appreciate that because I've enjoyed serving on it and I've enjoyed serving with you. And, I actually, one of my highlights of my tenure on the board was that first night when I got elected, and Don got reelected, John Linney got reelected, and Margaret, you were there too. So it was the four of us and we got elected, and, I was very happy. So thank you, Don.
Thank you.
And before we're going to let you say anything, if you want to, I think Margaret has done a very special thing, but she's put together a little slideshow, memories of you. So Margaret, if you could do the screen share and play the Don video, that would be great.
Yes.
Well, there we go. Well,
Okay.
thank you, Margaret. So
Were you able to see that?
Wow, I'm blown away. Thank you.
That was great, Margaret.
Yeah.
Thank you, Margaret.
And I saw that that right on the first page. I saw that picture of the four of us with John Lenny, you and me, and Don. Yeah, that was good. So I'll turn it over to you, Don. Is there anything, this could probably maybe your last meeting, so it's been an honor to serve with you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the planning board or the community?
It's been an honor. It's been a growth exercise for me, and I've enjoyed it. There's two unfinished special projects, and if the coming board will have me, I'd like to suggest that I'm willing to be a public member if invited to the park committee. I wouldn't be able to vote on the board, but I would be willing to be a public member of the park committee, which would give me an avenue of tying up some loose ends.
Well,
Go ahead, Mandy.
well, as the current chair of the park committee, along with Angela, we'll consider it, but we'll get back to you, Don.
I think you got a good shot. Go ahead, Margaret.
Yeah.
I just, again, as Fred mentioned, it's been a true honor working alongside of you, Don. You've, been a big mentor to me through the thick and thin, through the challenges. You never gave up on me, and I learned so much, and you were one of the first people that got me involved in this group. I'm serving my 7th year because of you, and there's not enough words to thank you for your activism, your leadership, your mentorship. And I'd like to thank your 2 daughters, Gail and Julie, for making it tonight, because I know you're celebrating your grandson's birthday and they're here on with us tonight. And I wanted to make sure that they knew how special their father is to our community. And I love you, Don. Thank you.
Thank you.
You should probably send that slideshow to Don.
Yes, and I did want to let everyone know, if you are interested in attending, we're going to have a little get together next Friday at Shanghai Bun. I've sent invites to all the board members. If you're wanting to meet in person, I'd love to be to have you and to celebrate Don's time on the board. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, good job. All right, with that, then we'll move to the next item, which is non-agenda public comment. So for anybody who wants to make a comment for 2 minutes or so is welcome to do it. So does anybody have any non-agenda public comment they'd like to make? Corla, I see you. Go ahead, Corla. You're muted, so we can't hear you yet.
There it went. Yeah, I sent this out earlier about the sustainable development area. instead of the city using a transit priority area, they don't like that. They're now called, because transit priority areas allow for incentive programs within a half a mile, but that was as the crow flies. So we didn't like that. Nobody liked that. So apparently the city didn't like that. So what they have now done is called the transit priority area a sustainable development area. And it's apparently aligns with this city's climate action plan goals to expand housing near transit so more people can bike, walk, roll, or take transit to their work, home, shopping, and other places of enjoyment within their community. At the same time, it furthers fair and affordable housing opportunities in our city that desperately needs it. However, that is within 1 mile. And we are lucky that our District 2 City Council representative voted against this because studies show that people won't walk more than a half a mile to get to a transit area. There's also been discussion that, it's really not going to promote affordable housing. We'll just have to wait and see how that is, but it increases the potential developable areas by more than 5,200 acres. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. And it's a little disconcerting to a lot of us.
Okay, thank you, Corla. Do we have any other non-agenda? Go ahead, Mandy.
I did just want to share that I recently got elected to the OB Town Council's Board of Directors. So
All right, congratulations.
it's another avenue of advocacy for the community. So, as the CBG is changing, we still have a lot of different community stakeholder groups that are advocating for the community. So any ideas or concerns, feel free to reach out to me. I'm looking forward to discovering the OB Town Council and figuring out the different ways, that they show up for the community and find a presence there on that board. So thank you.
You're just in the right zip code, girl. You can go for it.
No, the power player zip code 92107. Woo.
There we go. Well, congratulations. That's great news. Javier?
Yeah, hey, Corla, thanks for bringing that up. I did prepare a letter, one of the many letters to council in opposition of the SDA, and I did get an opportunity to see part of it on council, and it was a close 5-4 vote. And there were some really terrific points made in opposition to the SDA. And I'm just worked a little bit with the San Diego's for Better Housing, and they did a terrific job of presenting their points. And so I'm just looking forward to see what kind of legal action there may be with the CEQA. There was a lot of people that spoke that the city didn't address the proper CEQA requirements, and this new regulation will certainly change the characters of single family homes throughout the city. So we'll have to stay tuned.
Okay, I guess I'll make a non-agenda public comment. I guess I did read an article in the paper that there was a judge that shut down a big project up in Rancho Bernardo because their environmental impact report was not sufficient because it didn't look at surrounding projects and how those were impacting it. So I just wonder how that's going to affect Midway and the development of Midway, and that I don't know if their environmental impact report takes into account what's going on with the Navy and Avor and all that kind of stuff. So interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Any other non-agenda public comment? Go ahead, Margaret.
Just wanted to state that the environmental committee, I think Eva back in the day was really religious as far as letting us know that they were going to be, promoting and getting the city involved in the compost goals of the city. And I'm just curious if any of you have received your little tiny miniature green bins.
I have not.
Okay, they're coming to a community soon because a lot of the neighborhoods a lot of the surrounding neighborhoods have already got them. So Point Loma will be getting them soon, and you get no notice. They just show up on your doorstep. So so just be on the lookout. You'll be getting these little tiny mini composting trash bins, and they're really pushing for us to use those. So those are coming very, very soon.
It was
we look forward to seeing that. Yeah.
It was my
I was-
understanding they weren't coming until June for our area. And that timeline could have changed since I heard that information.
It
so-
has, and they're really just feeling the need for it now. So majority of San Diego already has them. We're just the ones that must be since we're on the tip of San Diego, we must be the last ones, but everyone else has got them already.
Okay. Any other non-agenda public comment? All right, with that, then we will turn to government reports. I don't see too many representatives, but I do see Cole Reed. So Cole, I'm going to go ahead and let you go first on behalf of Tony Atkins' office. Good to see you, Cole.
Yeah, good to see you all too. Cole Reed here. I'm going to keep my report pretty short for the night. So the first thing I'll talk about is new legislation that the senator has authored. It's titled SB 385. And this builds upon previous legislation that was signed into law last year called SB 1375. This bill is a reproductive rights bill. It will allow, if it's signed into law, it will allow physician assistants to be authorized to perform abortion services if they meet certain criteria. So it's just expanding those services throughout the state. The next point I want to bring up is regarding the California Earned Income Tax Credit. So tax season is here. April 18th is the deadline to file state taxes, and the California Earned Income Tax Credit is a hopeful thing that the pro tem did back in. She helped get this passed initially, but back in 2015. And it provides up to $3,400 worth of relief to filers who are eligible. Folks who are eligible have to be at least 18 years old, and they have to have had earned income $30,000 a year or less. So it's designed specifically to target the folks in our state who most need that relief and who are under the most financial duress. But I'll share some information about that in the chat if it's helpful for y'all or anyone who you know. With that, I'm happy to take any questions or input.
Any questions for Cole? Go ahead, Corla.
I'd like to thank Cole for participating and always showing up and having a smile on his face. I send out over a dozen government representative invitations each and every month, and you are always there, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I had to be here on Don's last day.
Yeah. It's a special night, yeah. Well, perfect. Okay. I don't know if we have any other government representatives here. Is anybody here from Jen Campbell's office?
No.
I don't think so. No. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make another report from the planning department, if I may.
Sure. Go ahead, Marlon.
Oh, thanks. So I wanted to
great.
also talk about the CPG reform. As you know, that passed last year, and all the planning groups are going to have to go through a process of compliance to be recognized, as legal entities under the new council policy. And so what that's going to require for the groups is four things essentially. One, an application, which is something that we're working on to provide to the planning groups. It's going to be an online type of thing to make it a lot easier to submit your information. Look to about April for that to be released. There's going to be new operating procedures, which essentially are your bylaws. In the amended council policy, it refers to that as the terms and conditions, but essentially that's basically going to be your new bylaws. There's also two other new documents, which are the ethical standards, which essentially covers ethical things like what does the planning group do about getting donations? What does the planning group do when you have two political candidates that want to address the board and have a forum, or things like that, or direct economic interest? So that ethical standards document is going to kind of identify that. And then the last thing, which is kind of new, is the participation and representation plan. And this is where the planning group identifies kind of their goals and objectives for broadening outreach and having a diverse and representative board. It's going to talk about techniques that you guys do, like, having websites, doing surveys, reaching out to partners in the community, and just your techniques about what you want to do about maintaining diversity and representative ideas on your board and maintaining that. So that's kind of what the package is looking like. Some folks have asked about, could there be competing organizations for the community planning group? And yeah, if you read through the documentation, it did talk about other groups that may want to represent the community as new advisory groups. And if that's the case in, in this community or whatnot, we will be putting together some public evaluative criteria. And then we'll make a recommendation based on, the applications, and then the city council will eventually make a recommendation who they would select. Some groups have mentioned, oh, that's probably not going to be an issue for us because they don't know any of them. That's fine. It could happen. It may not. We don't know. And and also to add on into this process, we are going to be providing some assistance. We're going to be holding some workshops that are going to act like clinics to kind of help the planning groups put this application process together. Because I'd mentioned there's some new stuff that you guys are going to have to put together. And so we're going to help you with that. We're going to also have individualized assistance where you can make requests to meet with the our consultants or me to kind of have some one-on-one assistance on that, kind of like office hours with your college professor or something like that, to get more insight, stuff like that. And so those are probably going to happen around the summer. And then planning groups have the deadline of providing their application, submitting it by the end of this year, so December 31st, 2023. And then starting in the new year, staff will be bringing forward to the city council the applications and all the planning groups that are all eligible for recognition. So that's pretty much what we have in store. And we'll have more information on the CPG resources website on the planning department. So just be on the lookout. I'll also be making updates at CPC regularly, since I'm the assigned CPC person for now. And then any questions that you guys may have, feel free to email me directly.
All right, I think we're going to ask you some questions here too, but I saw that you made a presentation yesterday to Midway. So I was going to ask you, we do have an item later on about, but we'll just do it now. So I mean, is there more to the presentation than what you just told us about, or?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm just wanted to give you guys an overview. We're still waiting on our consulting contract. So once we get that underway, then we'll finalize some dates and things like that. But I wanted to give you guys an overview, just kind of what's in store for the whole compliance process. And if you guys want, just take a look at the documents that are there and just kind of be familiar with kind of the things that are requesting, because there's some questions in there that we want planning groups to answer.
Okay, Corla, go ahead.
Yes, if on your timeline, December 31st is the deadline for application. And then in the new year, city council will recognize, vote and recognize the groups. Will planning groups be able to meet in January then or will we have to wait until that process?
Good question. So our current guidance right now for everyone is to use your current bylaws until you are recognized under the new council policy. So just maintain that. And then once you're recognized by city council in the new year, then switch over to the new operating procedures.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you still got that kind of coverage under the, the previous council policy. We all know that there's a big transition going on. You got elections going on, and then, this new council policy thing going on. So yeah, we understand.
Yeah. So Marlon, I talked to the last meeting and some other meetings, but I think in January, what I told the group was, my thought was that this is a serious thing. We want to take it seriously. And so we got to do the election. And so we got to get past the election. But then once we get to April, right, and we have the newly formed board, my thought was that we would form a subcommittee, right? Get a chair and a subcommittee of 2 or 3 members that are interested, and then they could sort of lead the charge on that and make sure that we handle that, appropriately. So does that seem like a reasonable kind of plan?
It does, yeah. Some of my other groups are doing that too. They want to look into and start like filling out the blanks and just kind of coming up with some ideas on how to answer some of those questions that the new council policy is asking for.
Okay. Well, that was very helpful. Does anybody else have any other questions for Marlon about that? Perfect. Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, feel free to contact me.
All right. Well, I will. No, I or our chair, because it's just, you know, obviously a lot of us have served for a while on the planning boards. We like the planning boards and we think the planning boards give back to the city. And it's just sort of a new area and uncertain. So obviously there's going to be questions as we go along. We want to proceed in good faith and work with you hand in hand. So yeah, we will probably have questions, and I appreciate your willingness to let us reach out to you.
Certainly. Mhm.
Perfect. All right.
All right.
Any
Everyone have a
other-
good night.
right.
I have to go pick
Thank
up
you,
my
Marlon.
daughter. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Mhm.
All right. Do we have any other government people or anything out there? I don't think so. All right, with that, we'll turn to Joe and project review. It looks like we have two projects to look at. The first is at 3276 Rosecrans.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, we have two projects today, and I do want to talk a little bit about what's likely to be happening with project review in the near future. The first project is sort of a carbon copy of a project we heard a couple of months ago. It's at 3276 Rosecrans, which is a large bank building that everyone knows at the kind of the end of Rosecrans. It's occupied now by Zygmunt Shields, general contractors. Anyway, this one, I've got our representative is Samuel Godino, and he is with us. This one, just like our last, is for the removal and replacement of various cellular equipment. And with that, Samuel, I see that you've been patiently waiting. So, by the way, this is for T-Mobile, this particular one. Samuel, you want to give us a brief overview as we discussed?
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, so it's an existing site, and really all that T-Mobile is going to be doing is removing and replacing the antennas that are currently installed on the facade of that building. No other changes. They're not adding any additional antennas. It's going to be the same amount. They're just going to take one out, put a new one in, and cover it the same way that it's currently sitting.
Do you want to screen share real quickly and show us the building?
Sure. I don't know if you guys can see that. So here's what we're looking at. It's this middle antenna. You can see it'll get slightly larger, but it's still a total of 3. The others here to the side belong to a different carrier. I believe it's Verizon.
And again, we reviewed those just a couple of sessions ago. Samuel, are you there? Did you freeze up?
No, I'm here. I just
Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions on what's going to be happening or.
No. Well, why don't we get out of the screen share so I can see if there's any questions, and if not, maybe Joe or somebody can make a motion.
I'll tell you that project review approved this 6-0. The conversation was quite literally the same as we've had with the different cell providers on the different sites around town. Would anyone like to make a quick motion?
Margaret will.
Thank you, Margaret.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
second it. Go ahead, Carla.
Corla, okay. Is there any other further discussion or comment that anybody wants to make? All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Down.
It appears to be unanimous.
And what does that count, Fred?
That's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9-0.
9-0. Great, thank you. Thank you, Samuel, for joining us and for waiting patiently and for being so helpful through the process.
All right, thank you.
And our second project, moving right along, is a house at 3624 Warner Street. It's right in the heart of the woods. And it's a coastal development permit for the construction of a new 5,557 square foot two-story single family residence with also an attached 1,169 square foot garage and a detached ADU as well. It also has bike storage. It's on a double lot. They're tearing down the existing house, and the applicant has explained that though the house looks good from the outside, it's extremely tired and doesn't have great floor plan. It just is not historically significant. And he's done a very interesting job with the architecture. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Bill Bakken, who is a local architect, and he was kind enough to join us. And he also made a very, very thorough presentation to the planning review board, or to the project review board. Bill, are you online? Can you hear us?
He's
Here. I've seen him.
Let me see. Just a second. I started screen sharing a little too soon, maybe.
Yeah, let's see if I can reach him. I told him I'd call him on the phone if he was having technical issues, but I know I've seen him online.
Bill, you have to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
There you
Yes.
There I am. I'll keep it short and sweet. Like I said, this is like Joe said, this is a 2 lots, 2 14,000 square foot lots, so it's 28,000 square feet, and it's on the corner of Warner and Silvergate. There's an existing house on the site, and it's located pretty much where we're putting the new house. And the new house is, the majority of the new house is single story. We do have a portion of it that is two stories, which is for the children's bedrooms and rec room, that is more along the alley on the side of the property. And then the ADU, which is a 1-story ADU, is on the back of the property. And the ADU in the house is sort of arranged around a courtyard. We've left the majority of the second lot sort of open. The idea is that to keep more of the natural look of the property as it is now. The idea with the design of the project was to create sort of a rural California ranch type home, which I felt was very appropriate for this location. This location is a very special location, that with all these trees and sort of natural setting, we wanted to sort of preserve that with the introduction of this new home. So I don't know if you want to show any of.
Yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about the trees that you've preserved so painstakingly.
Oh, the trees, we're actually working with an arborist right now. Although we don't have a developed landscape scheme. The idea, at the swimming pool, we have 2 huge major trees, a podocarpus on one side and a magnificent oak tree, very beautiful oak tree on the other. They have been sort of not maintained well over time, and we're going to have them pruned and to make them healthier. And we plan on, we're working the design of the foundations and whatnot to actually work around these trees to preserve them. There's other peppers and pine trees around the property, and a large majority of these will be saved. There's a huge pine, tall pine, on the corner of Silvergate and Warner that it's the other corner, this corner, and that's quite tall. That's a magnificent tree. The other reason we're going to keep them is because they help to disguise the power lines, which is nice too. And that sort of is it. We're also do not want to do curbs and gutters. We haven't been told yet that we have to, but we plan on fighting it because the owner doesn't want to do that. We're taking our vehicular access off of the alley because the city mandates that when you have an alley. And then we have a a parking courtyard off of the alley that also doubles as a sort of a play court for the kids. And that's sort of it. If you want to look at some of the elevations.
I'd like to see the
I-
elevations and the floor plans. You did a very, very elegant job with the floor plans and the elevations. And
The floor plans are there's an entrance courtyard. We're entering the house from Warner. You actually enter into an outdoor space because we're celebrating this space. We're going to plant that courtyard. We're looking at like doing a huge olive tree in there. And then the sort of the ADU and the house sort of speak to each other through the courtyard to create kind of this wonderful outdoor sort of celebratory space where you can have dinner parties and all sorts of stuff. The ADU is really meant more as a guest house, but it is an ADU because the owner's mother will stay there part-time. And it really hooked into the main house well. We have parking for garages for 4 cars and a bunch, and probably another 4 cars in the auto court. So there shouldn't be much on-street parking required for this project. We're well within our floor area ratio, and we're way under our height max. The point was not to make this house flashy or stand out. In fact, it's the opposite. We want this house to sort of blend in. It's sort of a California ranch. It's not some modern showpiece. And so we've intentionally kept it low. We've kept the ADU extremely low. The exterior materials will be stucco. The windows will be a darker color. They're paned. We have a dark standing seam roof, which is sort of historically correct for the style of the home, and trying to let the house sit within the natural setting that is this beautiful property. So the reason that the client bought the property was because of the trees and the setting. This is an image board that shows stylistically the approach that the house is taking. So you can see it's a very indoor-outdoor house, but it's also very sort of a natural, sort of organic out of the site, and extremely informal house. So,
thank you.
Is that good enough?
I circulated these plans a few days ago, so hopefully everyone's had a chance to see them. Is there any page that anyone would like to look at?
I just want to comment. I was at that meeting, and this is a real thorough description on this project. And if you look at it or walk the property, I think the design, that was one of our concerns, was if they were going to keep, a lot of those beautiful trees that the wooded area is known for. And I believe you did state that was a priority, was to kind of keep the character of the wooded area with this project. So I appreciated that. So I just want to make sure that the rest of the board members knew that it does actually indeed fit pretty good with the character of that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well,
and
maybe we can get out of the screen shares because I think there's a few questions. Okay.
The other thing with the trees is that we're also having a landscaper. We're going to be bringing in trees too. So there's that as well. They're planning on quite an extensive landscape job.
All right, Nicole, I saw you next.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Bill, for the presentation. It looks, like a great opportunity. So a great opportunity to actually capture a lot of water. I actually filled up my 1,800 gallon in the last couple of weeks of water capturing. So underground watering, capturing the water underground is a huge opportunity right now. And then considering, I love that you're saving the trees because that's beautiful, and you're going to plant more. And, I know we are all going to pain, even no matter how big a land and project we have. So landscaper, make sure there's some edible good fruit trees. And and then have that composting. Don't even have to use that green bucket. So, you know, really be mindful in the sustainable approach. Do you have a opportunity to have capturing rain off the roof and putting it somewhere? Have you already planned that out? Because Joe made it.
But the city mandates is that
Right.
they have all this.
I understand we're capturing the water as city mandates.
They have to
using it
because they consider when rainwater lands on a roof or a hard surface, it's impure. So I believe we're being required to provide a filtration area, an area where it would be captured.
Understandable.
And so there's an opportunity to do that. It's how it works in, because it's usually that water it's not potable water, but it is landscaping water. And
water.
yes,
I totally understand the mandate.
because it's a whole different thing if you do that.
And yes, it's a whole different thing to capture it and put it in a huge tank and pump it out into a garden. It's actually quite efficient with your funds and your money and your resources that we get here in San Diego. And I would just like really embrace it. And I would just, if you can, just log down catching water, catching H2O. They're who I use in Point Loma to really like look at how you can capture. There's so much roof you're putting out there. And there's so much lawn and space, and this is a great opportunity to really capture it and use it. And I mean, I even use the shower water, gray water. So even though we have these mandates for bioswales and we're capturing the water on site, that's still kind of going into a sewer drain. So, but if you can actually use that water and use our shower water, they're actually letting our, the city is actually, allowing it more often. They used to be like not so keen on it, but they really are doing, we really want to embrace that. And so I really encourage you to look up catching water and ask them, how you can capture so much of this water. I mean, water is the greatest resource right now, or will be. And they really, really.
No, I understand. And I actually did that.
Not just you, Bill, but as the entire board and as Joe moves this project team forward, always be asking that question, because we are on a hill. And that property is up on the hill. All that water comes down. It gets in our groundwater. If we put it in a bioswale, it's all going to go down. It hits this granite formation and runs out to the cliffs. And we have massive tunnels down there. And so really, it's the entire area and what we're all faced with in the near future. And so thank you for letting me comment on that. And it's not just directly at you. It's directly at all of us in this peninsula, being able to create this piece of property and this type of investment and not put something underground to capture the water is just, to me, if that's not planned, I actually will probably, I would say no to this project. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Mandy, do you have a question or comment?
No, I just wanted to thank you, Bill. I think it's magnificent that you are actually saving the trees. We don't see that very often. We see trees being taken out. So that the fact that you're celebrating those, I really appreciate that. And you are well below the FAR. I'd like to make a motion to approve the project.
Okay, I got Don as a second. Do we have any?
Yeah, I would hope that Mandy would put in an expressed proviso in support of the homeowner that curbs, gutters, and sidewalks not specifically be required on this project.
Orla, that was our motion.
Yeah, I would agree, because it's
in committee. Yeah, because we feel we've had other projects come through that, they don't need that up there. And we were supportive of Bill and the homeowners in not requiring those.
Good job, Don.
Yeah. So Mandy, is that okay with you to have the motion?
100% agreed. And I agree with that. It would fit with the neighborhood for sure. So
and I'll be happy to second.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion?
I just want to say that this is one of the nicest houses that we've had the privilege of reviewing.
Yeah.
The architecture is beautiful. It's perfectly situated for the woods, and I think it's going to be lovely.
Okay.
I think awesome.
All right, well, let's do a quick roll call then, where it's time to vote. Margaret? Okay. Corla?
Yes.
Mandy,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Nicole?
I'm actually going to abstain, and this is nothing against you, Bill, and this beautiful project that you're working on, but I just want the board to really a recommendation that these homes, not just this one, but all future ones that come through this planning board, look at how they're going to use the water. Thanks.
Tina? Yes.
Ray, yes.
Matt, are you still here yet, Matt? I see you, Matt, but maybe he's not here. Joe?
Yes.
Javier?
Yes, absolutely.
Brad?
Yes.
Okay. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 yes, 0 no's, and 1 abstention. Passes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you guys for your help. I appreciate it.
Hey, well, thank you for doing a good job on the project. We appreciate that.
Thank you for working so hard on the board.
All right, so Joe, do you want to make any general comments as to where you think
Yeah.
project review is going to go?
I do. There's a couple of comments. The first is that it's my understanding, and I have not had verification confirmed of this yet, that we're no longer going to be seeing ADUs, which is a little bit troubling because I think with the relaxed standards for ADUs, we're going to see a lot of boxy structures be built on top of garages right next to alleys and side yards. And I think that there's likely to be some stuff that none of us really care for going up. And I don't think that we have a lot of control over it. The second thing is that, just as a general comment, this house happens to be across, and I've told many members of the board this previously, but I'll just put it out one more time briefly. This happens to be across the street from my former business partner's house, which was a 19-teens craftsman house that they bought and restored meticulously, board by board, and created a garden that was offered the cover of the National Sunset magazine. And it was sold when he retired and moved back east, and that's fine. And I understand that it was sold to a second owner. And they've stripped it to a box and they bulldozed the entire landscaping, which included quite literally hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of specimen materials and plants. So we didn't see it. We won't see it because I guess they left a couple of walls standing. I'm not sure what the history of it is through the city, but to me, it's extremely discouraging. We're going to be seeing things like cell sites, which are fine, not ADUs, not remodels that don't involve demolition of the full structure. So I see a real diminution of the role of the project review committee coming up in the months and years ahead. That's it. Enough grandstanding.
Well, to add on to that, I also see the possibility for abuse, maybe unintentional, but it's just a sad state of affairs when community input is steamrolled.
I think it was interesting, the whole CPG reform was to, increase participation and remove the obstacles. And I feel like through the process, they've created more obstacles and more steps to participate in these meetings, or even to increase participation by going virtual. I think that's I think that's incredible that we're going to have to provide our physical address and invite people into our homes should we decide to go virtual. I mean, I'm down for it, Fred, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty radical. That seems like a very extreme burden to put on everyday volunteers. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah, go ahead, Margaret.
I do, on a positive note, want to say in my 7 years serving on this board that the community is making changes. And I see this quite a bit because I do go to a lot of the different planning board meetings, and I'm seeing a huge difference with community stepping up to the plate, neighbors finally speaking up, and we are making differences. So I wouldn't get too, disappointed and too like ahead of the ball in all these, rumors and assumptions that we're not going to be able to do this and this and this and that. They're going to have to listen to us one way or another with stuff that's coming down the pipelines. And I know myself, I get tons, and I know a lot of you guys do too, tons and tons of emails from neighbors way ahead of time before stuff even comes to us. And it's just, we're on this board for a reason, and it's to listen to the neighbors, to pridefully fight the city on some of the stuff for our own neighborhood. So we have to continue to do that. We have to stick together super strongly, address the issues as we see them, and send the correspondences as we've been doing, because they are reading our stuff. They are listening. Are they helping us? Are they taking action? Maybe not, but we have to do the due diligence as a board while we're on this board and addressing the issues that are coming our way, regardless of, the assumptions that we're not going to have things coming to us. I don't think that's going to happen. I still think we have somewhat of a little bit of power to address our issues and concern. I'm seeing other planning boards do the same.
I agree completely that the neighbors and neighborhoods care very deeply about what's going on. I just don't have any assurances or confidence that the city shares those views and is trying to do much of anything to make things better. They're enforcing a bunch of rules, but they're not pertinent to good design or nice neighborhoods.
Well, I'll let Tracy speak later under her OB report, but they're listening to OB, and OB's getting some stuff done that they've been working on for many years. And I mean, they're obviously listening to them on certain issues. So I think we should, continue to be pressing.
Yeah, well, and I think the city has listened to us on a lot of issues, and some of them they haven't, but that's part of being on the planning board. But we are a voice for Point Loma, and if we give up, right, then there's not a voice. So we can't give up, right?
I didn't say anything about giving up.
I can't see Manny.
I didn't either.
I can't see Manny giving up. Yeah.
I wouldn't believe it if I thought I heard that anyway.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Let's turn to the informational items, and first one is discussing CPC. But Corla, I think Marlon took that out of order for us. Is that right?
I think that's all we need to know right there.
Yeah. So good luck with that. And then the second one is the Cannon Street Pocket Park and Voltaire Street Bridge update. Don, do you have any updates for us?
Well, on the Cannon Street Park, no update. The city's in expedite mode, but coincidentally, no progress to report. On the Voltaire Street Bridge, looks like the rubber is starting to meet the road. I'll let Joe kind of take it away from there.
We have an upcoming meeting. I think it's on the 27th, thanks to Dawn, with some pretty important people at the city who I think can help us to cut through some of the red tape. We're in a situation where the plan check corrections we have are entirely engineering in nature, which is fine. So I'm trying to find some of my engineering contacts to help me free of charge to pick up some of the things that the city wants. I've had several conversations with other plan checkers at the city regarding their comments, and they're just inflexible. So I'm going to have to try to get professional help to jump in and give me guidance. There's certain things that I simply can't do. Civil engineering, stationing of elements and so forth and so on. So the 27th will be a telling meeting, and that's all thanks to Dawn.
Well, I wish you good luck at that meeting. All right. With that, we're going to move to our action item, which is the election. So, and I think that there's probably some people out there that are interested. I know Margaret, as I said in the beginning, Margaret and the committee's done a good job. So I'm going to turn this over to Margaret to give us an update on the schedule and try to get people ready for this election.
All right, get pumped.
Yeah, let's get them.
Get pumped. I did have an amazing committee step up. I'm so thankful. Brad Heron, it's not his first rodeo. I so glad he's on the committee. And then Tina, Wealth of Knowledge, she does elections on a city US level. So she comes stacked with a bunch of awesome recommendations. I have Robert Tripp Jackson and then Paul Grimes, our hidden secret weapon. He's amazing. This man, amazing. He's done elections for the PCPB since I've been on the PCPB. So we are stacked. We're looking good. We really took some time to, go back and forth in person versus, previous COVID restrictions. And this is what we came up with. We were having an election, folks. Point Loma Library, March 16th, 4 to 7 p.m. It is going to be in person. It is going to be going kind of back to the normal roots. We did actually have some concerns. Brad actually and a couple others made some good points of people are still scared of the COVID. COVID is still out there, as you mentioned before, Fred. So we're going back and forth as far as, and we have this option already locked in. We have the large room committed for us. And in that large room, there's 2 doors that lead to the outdoors. So we kind of are thinking of having it an outdoor election. And basically we wrote it down to, we've got, someone at the ballot box. I think Paul Grimes and Brad are going to be doing the voting registration verification process at a table. Robert Tripp Jackson and Tina, thankfully, are going to be our floaters for the first hour. And then also our ballot counters that evening. Fred, depending if you have a meeting or not, you and I will be reviewing all the applications that come in and approving them with the committee. Just, making sure that they're within the jurisdiction and that they've attended one meeting, all that good stuff. And then what we decided to do this year too is make everything's available online now. We kind of put the disclaimer up there that the election will be on the 16th. And then we decided mutually as a group unanimously that we were going to have the candidates forum via Zoom online. And that's going to be on March 9th at 6 o'clock. We really want the board to be there and support, and also, be able to bring some questions along to help us with that. But it's going to be totally organized and an opportunity for the candidates to use that. Also, I want to make this clear, use that as their first meeting as well. So that'll be an opportunity for them to attend a first meeting. We will showcase all the profiles and applications online. So as we get them, they'll be posted to our website. So that way the community can look at the candidates online, and it's fair game. Everybody's information will be there. So people can look at that. Ballots will also be online as well. That way, to make it easier because of COVID, people can fill out their ballots at a time and just simply, come to get verified at the table and be able to drop off their ballots ahead of time. And there's a whole process that we came up with this year to make sure people are not turning multiple ballots in, because it was a nightmare during COVID, but we survived. This year we're gonna have a validation stamp. So every time that someone comes up to the table, Brad and Paul will be able to check their, IDs or whatever it is that they bring to vote, and the ballot will get stamped. So that ballot will then, after it's stamped, will go into the box, and that will be a big key for the counters as well, that every single ballot will have a validated stamp on it as they're counting. We'll have signage. We're planning to do a press release. We kind of already started to kind of let the community know that there was going to be an election March 16th. And then, anything else, Brad and Tina? But I think we're good to go once we're okay with the board here that everything looks good and we're deciding to do all this, then we can really fully, go to the community to let them know that this is happening.
I see the information on the website. So there's also a deadline. What's the deadline by which people have to turn in their application?
It's going to be, the deadline is going to be March 9th, the night, 5 o'clock is the deadline time. And I think we've had that in the past as the deadline before the candidates forum. And that's a hard deadline.
The hard deadline. We got to make sure that's a true deadline.
Right,
Remember?
Tina? Yeah, that's a true deadline. So 5 o'clock, I think that's the last time you could submit it.
Even by mail or anything, we got to make sure.
Well, we're not doing mail. We're just, everything's in person.
Whatever they submit, via person, anything. 5 o'clock.
Yeah, definitely. So we just need to know from you guys, does this sound great? I know that we're feeling a little bit more comfortable with Brad. You can elaborate a little bit more because you had some good
and taking it all in.
About having just the tables outside. It's not a big deal, but I think people will feel a little bit safer if it's outdoors.
Depending on weather.
Yeah, depending on weather, definitely. So we're shooting for the outdoor drop off. And if it rains or anything like that, we can just simply easily move the tables indoor. Thoughts?
And are you planning on doing any social media to try to encourage people to apply?
Yes, I've already kind of given people save the dates on Nextdoor. And then I encourage you all to reach out to your neighbors and, people you think that, really want to invest their time to help the community.
Okay. Corla, go ahead.
The library closes at 6 on Thursdays. What do they say about that?
We can stay there until whenever. We have a key, so we're good.
Okay, and then my other thing is, you're good at this, Margaret, but OB-RAG, the Point Loma Association newsletter, and the Beacon will all publicize our.
I've reached out to the Beacon, and there was one that Robert Tripp Jackson gave me, OBPL Monthly. I don't associate with the RAG, so if someone wants to reach out to them, that's great. I'm sure they'll.
And the Point Loma Association newsletter. Are you a PLA member?
Yes, I am I sent them an email as well. Okay. So yeah, I've already kind of sent them the basics, but I just didn't want to do too much until I talked to the board first.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I just kind of gave them the save the date for the election.
So we just don't know if we're going to be having a meeting in person that night or not.
Well, that's up to Fred, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't.
If you already have the room, so
I do.
I could do a short meeting in person in the room while you guys are running an election at the same time.
Because I feel like all you board members are going to come vote anyway. So
Hey, yeah.
Right? It could be something super simple, Fred.
Yeah, and we might do the board meeting. Maybe we try to do the board meeting a little earlier. Do it maybe at 5 o'clock and keep it short.
I have you down for helping us be a floater.
Yeah. No. I like helping with the election.
Okay, good.
Elections are fun when you're not.
Keep
running.
your meeting short so you can come help.
Yes. Yeah.
But any questions, guys? We really took some time to go back and forth, and this is what we came up with. Just, I want it to be super basic, simple, and in one area, one spot.
Okay, Brad.
I guess your comment just now, Fred, regarding, are you talking an in-person meeting since we're going to be there? Because it seems like that's going to, in the past, it gets pretty congested if you're having a meeting too. And we had the 4 to 7 window thinking that you were going to be doing a Zoom meeting. And, there weren't going to be a lot of people around, and Anyway, just throwing that out there. They're still.
Yeah. I don't know for sure. I go back and forth. I like to have a meeting, but on the other hand, project review doesn't have that many projects. And I know that I saw some communication with Mandy, and I think that transportation and parks have kind of pushed things off till April. So
Yeah.
I don't really, and we actually just talked about the CPC and all that stuff, which all is going to be in April. So I'm not aware sitting here tonight of any groundbreaking issue that we have to deal with on March. So if
So you might not have a meeting at all.
Yeah, so that makes me inclined to
Oh,
think
okay. All right.
that I'll probably cancel the meeting and just help Margaret with the election.
We'd like the help.
Okay.
We need you. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Fred, should I postpone project review?
I mean, how many projects do you think you have coming up? I mean, I'm willing to hold the meeting if you wanted to get a couple projects, because I don't want to slow people down.
I don't even know that there will be any. The one that's so contentious is the one right down on the bay where they, built a project, and there's lawyers flying both ways on it, and it's just a quagmire. And the applicant very graciously said, I'm just not ready yet. So I don't know. I don't have any expectation that they will be soon. There are numerous others that seem to have stalled, and a couple that you've sent me over the last couple of weeks that I just haven't contacted yet. But I think I can just simply tell people that we're booked for March.
Okay.
And then one important thing that we really wanted asked as a group is if anybody that's currently on the board not coming back next year, please let Fred know so he can let the election committee know, because we really want to be readily prepared for being able to accommodate the open seats, and we don't want any surprises at the last minute, because then that just, you have to have all kinds of other elections after that. So if you don't think you're coming on, for sure you're not coming back, please let Fred know, and that way it'll help us kind of plan accordingly for the additional open seats.
Someone should reach out to Sam, because I believe he's very concerned about in person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know who should do that, but
Yeah, definitely. Maybe Fred, if you don't mind sending an email out to have them directly answer you. I think that's probably the most professional way to handle it.
Okay.
And while we're all meeting, I see Eric here wondering if he's going to put his hat in the ring.
Yeah, come on, Eric.
Yeah, if anybody wants to make a campaign announcement, Eric, go
come on.
I guess that's a thumb up. I think that's a yes.
I'm running.
What about
He's running.
There we
Okay,
go.
good.
What about Elizabeth? Elizabeth has been
Elizabeth's been
us.
coming every time.
I'm thinking about it, but I want to make sure I can really commit the time that it deserves.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you showing up, Elizabeth.
Yes.
Thank you. And Margaret, I've been, putting the word out there in different community groups, just letting them know about the opportunity to show up for the community. So hopefully we get a good turnout.
Thank
How
you.
about Jacqueline, is Jacqueline thinking about it? She's been on the subcommittees.
She's out of town a lot. Every time I send her an email, it bounces back with I'm in Shanghai or wherever she is. So, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, she's welcome
Curious.
to. I'm just not putting.
So that is your homework, board members. Get out there, recruit your neighbors.
All right. Well, I guess just officially for the record, then, I mean, I think we should approve then the campaign procedures that we posted on the website, and that we have the candidates forum on December 9th, and that'll be the deadline to submit the applications, and the election on March 16th, as Margaret outlined. Somebody want to make that motion?
And we're having the candidate forum, just to confirm, via Zoom.
Via Zoom. Yeah. Is that got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Motion
election
by
committee.
Mandy, a second by Tina. All right, let's go over the election. We'll do this quickly. Okay, so roll call. Margaret,
Yes.
Corla,
Yes.
Mandy,
Yes.
Don? Yes. Nicole?
Yes.
Tina? Yes. Matt?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Javier? Okay, yes. And Brad?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I got 10-0. All right, good job. Great job, Margaret, and we'll look forward to working with you on that. And I think that some people have, I don't know if anybody's asked Nicole, and so Nicole, you don't have to say anything. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you're up and you said something earlier in the meeting about whether it's gonna be your last meeting, but I don't know if you want to say anything about what your intentions are. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine too.
No comment right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Have not decided.
Okay.
And you
Well,
can always.
I'm
you can
up for
always-
reelection, so I'm ready to rumble.
My recollection is that Mandy and Angela said last meeting that they're gonna run. So.
Yeah.
And all I ask is if you decide not to run, just private message Fred and he'll let us know how many seats. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. Well, then that takes care of our action item. I guess we have the other action item, which is traffic committee's looking at Rosecrans, and they didn't get any action there, but I'm going to open it up to you, Mandy. Did you want to discuss that generally, just so people know what's coming down the road?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that, Rosecrans is a major thoroughfare through our community, and we are bringing it up as an action item. We're going to talk about Rosecrans, the stretch between Rosecrans and Talbot, all the way to the eastern part of Rosecrans at Lytton and Talbot. Those areas represent a big corridor of our community, and we think there's some opportunities. I've reached out to Gary Pence and also Muska Lake. They both have stated that there are no pending projects for that area, but there may be some with regards to the timing of the lights. And so we weren't able to make quorum yesterday, but being that Rosecrans is just, it's a big thoroughfare of our community, we want to give a couple meetings to give the community an opportunity to show up, give their inputs, and then we're going to bring it to the board hopefully sometime this late spring, early summer, just mitigation, traffic safety mitigations that we feel will improve the traffic through point and the traffic safety of the Rosecrans area of our community. So those are things coming down the road with regards to traffic. I did want to thank everyone on the traffic subcommittee, especially with our last month's approval of our budget meeting or our budget priorities. A lot of the items that we brought forth were based on letters and actions that we made prior through our committee. So I do feel confident that, our work is being pushed through the bureaucracy of the city. So thank you everyone for your time. And just one last report before the end of the meeting. Again, I just want to thank Don Severance, and I want to also thank Cole. He is here on the meeting, but I was able to get letters of recognition from Senator Tony Atkins' office, Assembly Member Tasha Barner-Harvath, our new Assembly Member, as well as the Mayor Todd Gloria. So those will be delivered to Don here in the next week. And so again, I really appreciate Don and just his leadership and mentorship during my time on the board. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Mandy, and we'll look forward to those updates on Rosecrans. Corley, you got a question?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment, Mandy, that I'm sure you guys are aware about pedestrian crossings on Rosecrans. There's no pedestrian crossing from, there's a long stretch, it's 6-8 blocks where there's no way to cross at a light, and that might also mitigate that traffic there. And then I'm sure you're aware. And then Tracy came in late on the meeting, Fred, so I don't know if she has a report or would like to say something about OB, but
I was going to go to Tracy after we finish with Mandy, but I appreciate
Thank you, Corla. Yeah, thank you, Corla, for that recommendation. I think that's something that we're gonna have to look at, you know, with the traffic of Rosecrans. It's just a high volume of traffic. Flashing beacons are not appropriate for that street, unfortunately, just because of the high volume of traffic. I'm looking at maybe making a recommendation for a new stoplight to be installed through that portion of streets that don't have that mitigation, or us looking at the Hawk type of pedestrian-led crossings that the pedestrian would hit the button, and then there would be like a complete stop of traffic based on that selection by the pedestrian. So there's some options there. And I've just really enjoyed my time on the traffic committee. Everyone has such great inputs. And even Paul Grimes, I keep trying to get him to become an official board member. He won't, but I still value his inputs on the subcommittee. Yeah.
I like it when he copies me on his input, right?
Yes.
Lengthy. And detailed.
In detail. He's great. I love it.
And let me just say, those smart lights aren't so smart, so along there.
I object, and I said this last meeting, anecdotally though, that because my parents live on the south side of Talbot, and I've made it to the freeway twice in the last couple of months without hitting a light.
You are just got the.
I mean, I don't know.
Go buy a lotto ticket, Brad.
Exactly.
No, I'm not doing 90 or anything. I've got a Prius. Come on.
I asked Brad, what time was he traveling? 4 a.m.?
No, admittedly, it was midday. It was somewhere between 10 and 2. But pretty surprising though. I think the smart light's pretty good. Actually, the worst part is when you're sitting at Canyon or one of the cross streets and the light never changes.
Talbot.
You're there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, those are long lights.
Anyway, just an observation that they seem to work okay for me.
All right, well, thank you, Mandy. All right, thank you, Brad. All right, with that, we are getting towards the end, but yes, Tracy did join us a little after we passed those reports, and we love Tracy and we love OB. So Tracy, do you have any updates that you'd like to give us?
Not a huge amount. The Ocean Beach Town Council had held its elections, and we have quite a few new board members, which is really exciting. Mandy is now officially an OBTC member, or a board of director. And I ran and won my seat, so that's really cool. I'm hoping to get Mandy really invested in advocacy, which I think she's going to be great at. Of course, right? She would be awesome at it. Okay. Let's see, Ocean Beach Planning Board. Not much is going on since we're doing our elections this month. So we've basically just been prepping for that, getting our committee together, getting our ballots and everything ready. If anybody's listening and they're in the area and they want to vote, it will open up next Wednesday and it'll run for a whole week. We've got a number of different options for people to be able to vote. So they will be able to do that. Not a lot of actions have been happening with the town council over the last couple of months, except for, I think we're going to be meeting in person now regularly. We have been meeting in person at the rec center, but we've been limited to about 2 hours because the rec center is short with their hours. So our meetings have been really quick. But yeah, we've been meeting in person now for a couple of months. So I believe all of our committees are going to go in person as well, but we got to find locations for those. And for the Arts and Culture Commission, I just want to let you guys know about sandiego.gov/arts-culture, but there is a really amazing grant opportunity that's going on right now, and the application just opened up. It's called Far South Border North, and it is a grant opportunity that's going to support artists and cultural practitioners to develop artistic content that increases local awareness of public health, civic engagement, climate, and social justice. So it's a really cool opportunity to get some funding and get some public art out there. There's also a really phenomenal photo fellowship that is coming up. I don't have the specific dates or deadlines for those yet, but it's in conjunction with the Office of Immigration Affairs, and it's funded by the NEA, and it's going to be a huge grant amount for an entire year of work. So I will have more information about that when they post it. But if you ever want to get updates from the commission, you could just go to sandiego.gov/arts-culture, and you will get emails about everything that's going on and be notified about all these great grant opportunities that we're having come up. I can't think of anything else.
All right, well, that's good. Yes.
Big-
We heard earlier about Mandy, so we're very proud of Mandy winning. So
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
our favorite candidate. Sorry, you're our second.
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh, okay. Well, fine.
You have our
Anyway.
support, Tracy. I really do appreciate working on this subcommittee with Tracy. She's the chair of the advocacy subcommittee. So we actually are working on something for Point Loma. We're looking to try to get the lights on in our community. So I do have a Nextdoor post out there asking for, and you can email me directly if you have any issues with lights out on your street or nearby, to send me information, the address, as well as if it's a historical casing for the light lamppost or not, as well as if you've submitted a get it done report. We're trying to make a big ask and try to prioritize some of the areas throughout our community with regards to lighting and turning the lights on. I have gotten word from the Point Loma Association. I did reach out to Sandy Handshot, and she is interested in signing on to that letter as well, as it would improve the public safety and throughout our community. So those are some things that the OB Town Council, while it's still OB Town Council, they're still working for that 92107 zip code. So I do want to highlight that. So if you have any opportunities there, feel free to reach out to myself or Tracy to get us that information.
Yeah, and then we're also going to start kind of this new advocacy campaign where we're going to be asking the public, just anybody in 92107, what is it that you guys need? Like, what do you need us to advocate for? Because the town council is such a large membership driven organization. I mean, we have thousands of people, on our membership, and we have some pull. So we're going to start putting out QR codes for people to scan that'll take them to a form. And then it's just an open-ended, what can we do for you? What can we advocate for? What do you guys need? So I would start keeping an eye out for those kinds of promotions. We're going to put a sign up in a couple of parks and just leave it really open-ended for now so that we can kind of dig through and figure out what can we help with. Because we don't want to live in a vacuum or an echo chamber of just the town council board members. We want to hear from the community. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming up.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Tracy, and I appreciate you joining us. All right, with that, we're getting towards the end of the meeting. So question is, if any board members want to make any other comments or committees, and so I'll start with Margaret.
Yes, I want to bring up Midway. Yesterday's meeting was so awkward and so weird that we've got to tap into what's going on in that community, because it is going to heavily affect us with that Midway Rising project. I mean, we had the guys from Midway Rising, they had a presentation open to the public. No one knew about it. I luckily had someone from the city send me the info, and I sent it to all you guys here via email, and then I got it out to the community ASAP, but it was like within like a 2-3 day notice, which was just kind of unfair. But anywho, they did that same presentation they tried to at yesterday's meeting, and the thing that I found that was so weird was the gentleman who was speaking on behalf of the Midway Rising start off by saying and addressing the community by saying that they have been paying a lot of penalty fees and all kinds of extra fees that weren't expected, but it's all taken care of in regards to this project. And just a lot of weird, unsettling updates with this project. And I don't see this project happening overnight. I know that right now the city, from what I can see, is focusing so hard, so quickly to get this project going like ASAP, but there's just a lot of red flags, and they're all starting to come out slowly now. So I found that kind of interesting at that meeting. And then Officer Cerullo did speak on the safety of Midway. I've seen a significant improvement in Midway since the police have been kind of given authority to police it a little bit more and be able to start getting rid of, you know, the crime a little bit more. And I do see a lot of the centers making an effort with hiring more security to patrol the shopping centers. So it has been improved in the last 30 to 40, 50 days. But yeah, just please keep Midway on your radar, because there's a lot going on that's going to affect us, and just be part of those conversations.
All right. Well, thank you, Margaret. Is there anything else that any other board members would like to add before we sign off? All right. Well, then I'll add one thing. I think I mentioned earlier, I did go to the ANAC meeting yesterday because Paul's out of town. He asked me to go as the alternate. And so I went there, and I'm not sure that they don't like seeing me, I don't think, really, because as you can imagine, as operations have increased, right, there's more missed approaches, there's more early turns, and there's more curfew violations. So I complained about it. They welcome back. Yeah, they're like, you're an alternate, get out of here. But I complain and try to do our part. But I mean, that's certainly a concern of mine of the airport, that as they ramp back up, they're going to start, you know, more violations, more noise, and more inconsiderate behavior. And got a bunch of double talk from the airlines about it's been a tough year. They're trying to get new people and they can't get their operations together. So, and I didn't find that to be a valid excuse. But anyway, maybe Paul will be gone again, and I can go to ANAC again and share my views with them. So. So that's all I've got. Do we have any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody's good work, and I will see you soon, and we'll support Margaret in the election, and encourage anybody who's here, Eric and Nicole and the others that have announced, and anybody who watches this video that's thinking about it, you know, I'd encourage you to run and try to make a difference in your community.